who takes care of my daughter and all the kids on our street. I know that she and so many of our other bus drivers are working so hard. Unfortunately, like school systems across the country and here in Maryland, Baltimore County also has been facing a severe bus driver shortage. This is a challenge that has put an undue burden on students and families and on drivers like Miss Marney, too. When school buses show up late, or sometimes not at all, it certainly jeopardizes our children's safety and their education. That means students as young as 4 have had been left at their stop, sometimes in rain or cold weather, not knowing how or when they'd get to school. This has forced our working families to adjust their schedules on the fly or find alternative means to get their children safely to school. And unfortunately, not everyone has the same supportive environment that I'm lucky enough to have and many others are lucky enough to have in situations like these. We owe our students and our families the best. With that, and that is the reason why I've been working so closely with Superintendent Williams, his team at BCPS, and Mr. Brian Epps of AFSCME to find solutions. And it's why we're announcing new actions today for Baltimore County. To be clear, and again, I want to underline this point, the challenges we face is not the fault of our hardworking bus drivers who continue to work day in and day out to get our kids to school. This is the result of a national bus driver shortage which impacts communities across the country. Still, it's been made clear that it's incumbent on us to find solutions on 2 fronts, both eliminating pre-employment barriers and increasing wages. For example, bus driver applicants have been responsible for paying their own background check, which is an added $100 cost. Potential employees who need a sleep study may have to pay up to an additional $1,200 out of pocket. These barriers, combined with the general shortage of individuals with CDL licenses, have undermined our efforts to get more drivers in the buses and more children to the classroom safely. But today, in partnership with Superintendent Williams and the BCPS team, we are proud to announce our next steps to address both pay and pre-employment barriers. Retaining our existing drivers and hiring new bus drivers is a challenge, but something that we're excited to be moving forward on today by providing incentives to compete with the current employment market and by eliminating barriers to employment. Under our plan, BCPS will use their funding from the American Rescue Plan to help boost pay for drivers, many of whom have been working additional routes on their standby time. Dr. Williams will provide those details in a moment. Baltimore County will provide funding to cover the cost of background checks, which is a cost that was previously passed on to potential employees. In addition, we will use our ARP funding to cover the following pre-employment activities for bus drivers and attendants, including pre-employment fingerprinting, physical exams and drug testing as required by the Maryland Department of Transportation, any expansion of eligible medical providers, an expansion of eligible medical providers to provide pre-employment physicals, and will cover sleep apnea testing for designated candidates. We'll also be providing, as I mentioned, a range of incentives to support our workforce. The details will be provided by Dr. Williams. But we believe together that the work on the pre-employment front, as well as the incentive and pay front, will help us hire the drivers we need to get our students to schools and keep the talented and dedicated drivers we currently have. Addressing our bus driver shortage is a top priority for all of us, and we remain committed to doing all that we can to support our students and families. We look forward to working with our county council partners and our board partners to ensure that these changes are enacted. We also will continue working with Superintendent Williams and BCPS to continue the conversation about additional creative solutions in the days ahead. I want to especially thank Superintendent Williams for working with us closely and acting boldly on this challenge. I want to thank his team members, Chief of Staff Mildred Charlie Green, and the entire BCPS team for making this possible today. I also want to recognize the team members who've worked on this effort on the county government side, including Stacy Rogers, our County Administrative Officer, and Dr. Jennifer Lynch, our Director of Educational Partnerships. Again, I want to thank Mr. Brian Epps and the entire AFSCME team for his partnership and advocacy on behalf of our employees. And I'm very excited that we're moving forward in this direction today. With that, I will turn things over to Superintendent Williams to share a bit more on BCPS's plans. Mr. Superintendent. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Makita Scott.
Thank you. Welcome and good morning, everyone. I am Board Chair Makita Scott, and I bring greetings on behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Education of Baltimore County. I thank you all for joining us this morning as we share important updates on the work of the board and school system around recruitment and retention of staff. The Board of Education is committed to providing the funding and support BCPS needs to bolster its workforce and ensure the smooth continuation of operations. From the bus drivers and attendants who provide that first touch point with students and make certain they are transported to and from school safely, to our teachers and administrators providing high quality instruction and supports, and to our food and nutrition services lunchroom heroes who provide nourishment and relationships with a smile. These are critical services that require the daily efforts of many team members. The board knows that BCPS cannot accomplish its goals and raise the bar and close gaps if it does not have a fully staffed workforce of dedicated and talented individuals. The board is so appreciative to all BCPS personnel who continue to overcome obstacles and provide our students with the best possible instruction, educational services, and supports. Today's announcement of added bonuses and incentives for our bus drivers, attendants, and other members of ASME is just one way in which we want to tangibly express our appreciation to our selfless staff. One of the major barriers in hiring new bus drivers is the cost incurred to obtain the mandatory background check. The fee of $100 is passed on to the potential employee, becoming a barrier to employment to those who have often been disproportionately impacted by the economic and health effects of the pandemic. Thank you, County Executive Ocheski, for your unwavering commitment to public education and for the funding to cover several pre-employment activities like background checks, physical exams, and drug testing for bus drivers and attendants. Throughout the pandemic, Team BCPS, AFSCME, employees have gone above and beyond to support the community and learning. This began with meal deliveries using school buses to the community, food and nutrition staff ensuring that families received needed meals, and continues today with reduced staff ensuring that buildings remain safe and clean. Retention bonuses ensure these staff receive well-deserved monetary recognition for their efforts so that they remain committed to Team BCPS. The board is in full support of this plan and will continue to work closely with the superintendent and system leadership as they identify additional ways to recognize the efforts and contribution of all BCPS staff. Thank you.
Makita, my apologies.
No worries.
So good morning, and thank you all for joining us this morning. I want to take a moment to recognize our board members, union representatives, BCPS leadership, and other important guests who are with us today, such as you heard from our board chair, Scott, Mr. Brian Epps, ASHME President Local 434, Mr. Charles Patillo, Executive Director of Business Services, Dr. Jess Grimm, Director of BCPS Office of Transportation, Ms. Jamie Hetzler, Director of Food and Nutrition Services, Mr. John Clark, Bus Driver. As our county executive stated, BCPS is one of many school systems experiencing a significant shortage of bus drivers. Our school system transport more than 85,000 students to and from school by bus each day. We run more than 800 bus routes each day and employ more than 700 bus drivers to run these routes. In addition, we must employ a group of substitute drivers and attendants to cover absences. It is important to note that our bus drivers are BCPS employees who are guaranteed a 40-hour work week and full benefits. We are committed to those members of Team BCPS and appreciate the partnership with our county executive and the Baltimore County government on this effort to remove pre-employment barriers. We are pleased to present to our Board of Education this evening a plan to provide incentives and increase compensation for our staff who engage in mission-critical work like transporting our students to and from school, providing nutritious meals, and ensuring our facilities are prepared to receive students and staff every day. We are extremely grateful for the support of our Board of Education and thank Ashby President Brian Epps for his advocacy and partnership on behalf of the 2,800 Ashby members. Specific incentives to address shortages, retention, and attendance will include the following: a monthly attendance reward where staff will be rewarded for on-time attendance every day for each assigned shift, an employee sign-on bonus program, an employee referral bonus program, a total retention bonus of $1,000 to be paid in December and June, and greater flexibility with use of personal leave during winter and/or spring break. Additionally, BCPS drivers and attendants have been taken on additional routes, at times doubling and tripling back to ensure that students are safely transported to and from school. In recognition of this additional work, drivers and attendants will receive a $2 per hour shift differential for the remainder of the school year. So the total BCPS investment for this initiative is more than $5.2 million. While today's announcement is mainly focused on incentives and new initiatives to support the recruitment and retention of Ashby, BCPS is also pleased to share work is underway in partnership with all union presidents to finalize additional compensation, recognitions, and opportunities to focus on staff well-being for other members of Team BCPS. This is in addition to the 2% increase effective January 1 of 2022 for TAPCO, CASE, OPE, and ASHME, and a 3.5% increase that was effective July 1, 2021 for ESPBC. We want to thank our employees for their tireless efforts on behalf of our students and families. It is our hope that the steps we're taking today as a system will help us provide greater support and recognition of our employees and build a stronger team BCPS. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to the county executive, maybe.
We'll just open it up for any questions before we unconvene and then reconvene for the ribbon cutting.
Got like 1 minute.
So ASHME would like to thank the county exec as well as our superintendent for this is a direction moving in the right way. Even though we are still ongoing with negotiations, this is a win for all of ASHME employees, especially our drivers and our attendants, and we just like to say thank you.
Good?
We're
Okay.
good.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
See you all in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.